Hello, welcome back to another FPL video on Fantasy Football Scout. The game week's not quite over yet for game week 16, but we're already looking ahead to game week 17, trying to work out all the chaos that 16 has brought us, and we're still yet to even know how much more chaos there is to bring because we're recording this on Wednesday morning, so there's still two potentially games to play. Not necessarily, we'll have to wait till later to find out for sure, but we're still going to talk about the chaos, get on to game week 17, see how Gianni's getting on. How you feeling?
Yeah, a little bit rubbish. Like the cancellation earlier in the week, City Everton wasn't brilliant for me. With three players in that game, and then obviously I'm apprehensive about this evening. We've got Fulham, Liverpool as it stands, and it's 11:08 at the moment. In doubt, I'm refreshing Twitter every 2 minutes. I just hope that game goes ahead. If it does, I'll be happy. If it doesn't, I'll be very disappointed. But it's food for thought. It makes me want to bank a transfer this week. It makes me want to save my chips where possible. So, things are changing and we have to adapt as FPL managers with it.
Yeah, I think again, it's tough to say this when I've got triple leads and they've just all scored. But again, tripling up on teams now, it does look like it has the potential for disaster. There probably wasn't too many people with triple City, I would say, or triple Everton for sure. But it can hurt you just like that, just like triple Villa did to some of us earlier in the season. So that's definitely something worth considering as we move on over the next few weeks and we get more news about what's going to happen. We'll jump into the team now. If you are enjoying this series, do give it a like and hit subscribe as well if you haven't already. Let's take a look at how things are going. So 23 points so far because Target and Mitchell are both coming off the bench. I think Burke's coming off as well, but he got a yellow card, didn't he? So yeah, he's getting 0 points anyway. But all three of them are coming on for Calvert-Lewin, De Bruyne and Stones. So you've got Kane and Dyer, hopefully. I've also got a Spurs defender this week. I'm really hoping that's a good chance for a clean sheet, I would say. And then you got Lookman, which I guess is kind of the caveat to that. If they do keep a clean sheet, then Lookman's only going to get 2 or 3. And Salah captain still to come, so that could be huge still. Obviously, we saw Fernandes last night get points at the end. He's not quite as highly captain as Salah, but his effective ownership still I think it was like 96%. So he was quite heavily captained for this week, but not quite as much as Salah. He's on like 142% or something crazy like that again. So yeah, I mean, talk us through the week. Bamford was obviously good. 8 points, 2 assists. What about the rest?
Yeah, Bamford was good. I mean, there's barely any players in there to talk about. Target and Martinez, I didn't expect a clean sheet against Chelsea. Justin and Mitchell, who played in the same fixture, I watched that ball draw. It was 1-1. It could have very easily been a 0-0. The XG in that game was so low. So, Mitchell and Justin in a 0-0 would have been brilliant for me. Justin too, obviously.
You called Mitchell starting as well. You said that he was going to start probably. I thought he was so close to the clean sheet. It was 78 minutes or something like that. And it was a good goal by Harvey Barnes, but it was a bit of a long ranger. And obviously they'd already saved the penalty before that, so maybe a little bit fortunate. But yeah, you called that when he started.
Yeah, and he played really well, Andy. He played really well. Arguably one of, if not the best Crystal Palace player. He was really solid. Lots of clearances, lots of interceptions. I don't think he's going to replace Van Aanholt, but there is talk at Palace that Mitchell's going to get a run in the team because Van Aanholt is out of contract this summer. So if they think he's going to be off, Roy Hodgson might go, no, I'm going to give Mitchell a chance. If they think they're going to keep him and he's going to sign a new deal, of course, he's straight in the team. You could also play Van Aanholt in front of Mitchell and play them both. Remember, Jeffrey Schlupp's been converted to a left winger. He was a left back when he first joined from Leicester. So yeah, worth keeping an eye on. I'm happy as Mitchell is my third sub, but if he starts, that'd be great. Other performances, Fernandes, it's what he does. 50% of his points have probably come in the last 5 minutes of games. That's just what he does. I'd love to see that number actually. And then I Bamford. Yeah, I expect some returns in a 5-0 victory. Didn't get the goals, but got the assists. And elsewhere, no one else has played. Stones, De Bruyne, and Calvert-Lewin in that one fixture. If Spurs Fulham is off, that's 6 players across 2 fixtures, and 50% of my budget in those 6 players. So that would really hurt. But you've got to play what's in front of you, and fingers crossed that all is well for this evening.
Yeah, I think we can talk about not tripling up on teams and stuff like that, but when it gets called off after the deadline, you just can't do anything about that. I sold De Bruyne for a hit, and when I heard that news, I was like, "Geez, how lucky is that?" And then it was for Kane, and now Kane might not play either. So it's just one of those things at the moment. I guess we just got to like you said, just keep playing what's in front of you. You can't. Everything else is out of our hands. We can't control the weather. We can't control positive tests and all that stuff. Well, I do. Ben, who we follow on Twitter, he did remind me of a season back when I first started playing, when nearly every single game got called off because of the snow, and that was all after the deadline. So there has been worse times, but right now I just think with everything going on, it just looks even worse right now. So fingers crossed. I mean, if the Spurs game's on, Kane and Dyer both look good for points. I don't see Fulham scoring, but we'll see, I guess. We'll see what happens later on, even if the match is on. We'll all have eyes on that. Let's look ahead to next week. So, again, as it stands right now, we don't know if the City-Chelsea game is going to be on. I mean, I'm assuming it probably will be, because I don't know. We can't really speculate too much because we don't know what's gone on, but I find it a bit weird that some matches are on after tests and the City game got called off. And obviously Newcastle, they have had to close their training ground, so it's a bit like Newcastle, but they played their second game, so it's going to depend how much time is needed in between, I guess. So we'll have to wait and see if that's off. I guess, let's say it is off, right? Well, let's just speculate for a second. Will you be looking to get rid of those Man City players? Because obviously you're free. Well, you were hoping not to free hit in Game Week 18 when they both play, and they got a good fixture run after Chelsea. So I guess this is all hypothetical, but what would your thoughts be if they're away for Chelsea or off?
Potentially lose KDB for a very short-term punt. Stones would stay. But again, if it's off and we know the fixtures are scheduled as they currently are, then you consider De Bruyne out. But we don't know. It could be off. There could be a 2-week pause. Game week 18 and 19 could be merged, and City have a double game week. So you just, I'd be holding on as long as I can, and I'm really not thinking about transfers until we have news. The City training ground was closed. I think there are scheduled to be tests again today for City players. And obviously we saw with Newcastle the postponement because of the training ground. And again, Fulham, we've seen some positive tests, but we don't know who yet. So it is really all up in the air. I still... De Bruyne has been massively underachieving. He's one I'm fairly happy with keeping. But as I said, if that Chelsea game is off and I'm not going to get 11 out, I'd consider a Mane maybe for a 1 week. He goes to Southampton. I'd even consider a 1 week punt on Aubameyang against West Brom. It's West Brom, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, last night, there's all this. They did really well to get their draw against Liverpool. And I'm trying to think back to that game. I don't think Liverpool had too many super clear-cut chances, apart from really early on with Salah from Robertson. They didn't really have too many chances, but Leeds just showed that West Brom is still not the great defensive team that maybe some people have maybe taught themselves into because of Sam Allardyce, and they are there for the taking. Now, I guess against Arsenal they might not play as much, and they might go back to the way they played against Liverpool, because they didn't really kind of defend in that 6-4-0 against Liverpool. They didn't really do that against Leeds, so we'll see. But yeah, as worse punts than Aubameyang. He started last night. Arsenal got another win under their belts. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, again, that's hypothetical right now. Elsewhere though, Mitchell. Do you think that's what I'm considering the same thing, because it's a really good fixture, but I am worried that he might come on for a bit. You got any worries about that?
Not really. Uncle Roy doesn't make many subs, and when he does, it's usually in the attacking spots. Likes of Ayew and Batshuayi on the bench, they come on. He'll sometimes change a midfielder with a McCarthy coming on. Changing a left back isn't really what he does. And if I look through the season, Mitchell's minutes, he's either played 90 or 0 every single game week. So I'd be willing to throw Mitchell in. Do I think he starts? I'd probably put him at 40% likely to start. So look, Dyer comes in, who I expect to concede against Leeds. Leeds do create chances against everyone. But yeah, I think I'll throw Mitchell in, and you just never know. And then actually on paper, again, my team looks quite good on paper. Justin's got a good fixture. That was part of the thinking we're bringing Justin in. That Newcastle fixture, they don't score many. And then, I've got Calvert-Lewin and Kane and even Lookman with some tasty fixtures there.
And to be fair, one thing I've considered with Calvert-Lewin is they're probably going to have Rodriguez and Richarlison back, and he's also had a break now. So there was, I was slightly worried that he might not even play against City, which he ended up not doing anyway. But I expected the game to go ahead. So now he's had a little bit of a rest. That could be a good game. Although West Ham did rotate a few players last night, so a lot of them are going to be rested as well. So we'll see how that goes. I've got Mitchell in my starting 11 currently as well. I don't know how much that is wishful thinking, but it is a really good fixture in terms of Spurs versus Leeds. So you've kind of already mentioned Dyer's on the bench because you expect Leeds to score, and you've got Kane captain as it stands. Now,
Yeah.
I will just say we haven't seen the Fulham game, and they have had just pretty much tough fixtures before that. Although they recently played Crystal Palace, that was just 1-1. I've got Kane as well, so I'm interested in your thoughts. How confident are you in a Kane haul? Do you think? Do you think Leeds just give up that many chances?
Leeds give up a huge amount, and it'll be an open game, and Leeds will dominate the ball. We know they will dominate the ball. They have against Liverpool, they have against City, they have against Chelsea. But that will suit Spurs. Spurs love it when teams come and dominate the ball and press and go for it, and it allows Spurs to counter. And because Bielsa plays a man-marking style, there will be more space for that counter than Spurs have had recently, where managers have clocked onto it and gone, we're not going to commit too many numbers forward. Well, Leeds will commit those numbers forward. So am I confident with a Kane haul? No, but I am confident Spurs score. Sorry, that's my dog making a few noises. Sharko is joining me. He's been on my lap. He's right next to the mic. But no, captaincy, I'm really not sure. Kane, Fernandes, and Salah. It's kind of a toss of a coin. Again, I'll be looking at the captaincy polls. I'll be looking at if Kane plays tonight and how he plays, considering Salah's form as well. So it's really difficult to call before seeing what happens tonight.
How do you? Obviously, it's Liverpool, so they are like the best team in the league. So it doesn't. A lot of the time, it doesn't matter what defense they come up against; they're always going to score. But what do you make of Southampton at the moment? Because I think maybe they've looked okay defensively. They've obviously not got Vestergaard there either. So is that playing on your mind at all? Like, what do you make of Southampton as a defense versus Salah and co?
Yeah, I mean, without Vestergaard, they definitely lose that aerial ability at set pieces. They've been brilliant defending set pieces this season. I would say McCarthy has been bailing them out. Like again last night, a worldy save at the end to deny Ben Rama, I think it was. Like it's not like McCarthy's making save after save after save, but he's coming up with these big saves and denying big chances. They are conceding some big chances, and I think that's a nice fixture for Liverpool. And again, it's Mane at his old club. There's not just Mane, a few of them, although obviously Van Dijk's won't be playing. So yeah, I think it's a fairly good fixture for Liverpool. It will be an open game, I expect. Southampton are looking a little bit tired. Against West Ham last night, I went into that game on paper thinking that was a really good fixture. We'll see lots of goals. And it was a 0-0. And there wasn't a huge amount of chances for either team. Obviously, McCarthy made a couple of good saves. But Southampton looked a little flat. It was actually Walcott was their brightest spark. But yeah, small squad, doesn't rotate a lot, Hasenhüttl. They'll be feeling the effects of a lot of games in this period.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to really gauge teams right now because they're all obviously having to play, and there wasn't as there has been for the last 3 or 4 years. There wasn't really that much rotation as we'd expect. Obviously, Vardy and Maddison missed out; they were quite big names, and obviously Sofao, Balbuena for West Ham. But outside of that, there wasn't really too many players missing, which is good from an FPL point of view. But also, you can't really gauge just how tired they are and stuff like that. I thought Man United, for example, looked pretty fresh for most of that game. It was obviously a difficult one against Wolves, so they're going to take it to Villa again. So again, Fernandes is always a captain opportunity, but I do quite like the punt on Kane this week against Leeds. I guess, like we said earlier, we can see how they play against Fulham, and then maybe take it from there. So yeah, I think the team's looking pretty good. Obviously we spoke about hypothetical. You might get rid of De Bruyne for a 1-week punt if the City game's off. Let's say none of the game. Oh, sorry, I was going to say none of the games are on. Let's say they're all on. What transfers are you considering this week?
The planned one was Lookman out to Saka. That is still possible, but Saka went off with a knock last night. Arteta said he's got a knock, but he should be fine. So again, I'll be waiting to see pre-match press conference news there. Saka, by the way, was nailed to be a transfer this week until I saw Reece James wasn't starting, and I just felt like I had to make the defensive move to Justin. But got the assist, got man of the match. He looks great. He's playing on the right of a front three. So Saka to Lookman is potentially on. I think, however, depending on how Lookman plays tonight and the Saka injury news, if I can, I might hold Andy, just because there's all the talk of kind of a couple of weeks off, that we don't quite know what's happening with the double game week and single game week. They are obviously planned, but there could be changes. I just feel like unless I need to and I have a major injury, I'll probably roll the transfer. So yeah, I am probably likely to do that if every fixture goes ahead. The only one I'll make is Lookman to Saka, but I'm still unsure because of the injury.
Yeah, it's probably not the worst time. I mean, definitely no transfers need to be made until right up close to the deadline, which is, I think it's like 4:30 on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got to, we've said it a few times this season, but this does feel like a week where you should really just hold on to it, because there are obviously calls for some clubs saying, you know, they should there should just be a 2-week grace period now where they just have a calling off. And the winter break is already planned anyway, so it wouldn't
Yeah.
be the worst thing, I guess, for the league to bring it forward. But that would, like you said, change our chip strategies quite a lot. Like for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people who are looking to free hit in 18, which you're not doing. You know, you kind of feel like you have to use a transfer in game week 17, because otherwise you're going to lose it. You can't roll it into a free hit. So do you make a move for your bench boost for game week 19? Like, what is it? So it is a tricky one. And if you're not free hitting 18, like you're not, it probably is best to roll if you can, or at least wait until right up to the deadline, because it feels like it's something that they're going to have to decide on quickly, especially if there's more like whatever the tier 4 in the UK is. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. All right. Otherwise, yeah, I agree with you. I think the team's looking pretty good. I think Lookman's in there, but obviously he's an enabler for the rest of the team. Bamford just looks good in any game. Didn't really have too much goal threat last night, but obviously everyone else kind of carried that out for him. So on another day, he'll be in the goals, and obviously he's on penalties now as well. So if Mitchell starts, it looks good, but I've got a feeling you'll have Dyer in. I'm the same. I've got Mitchell in my starting 11, but I'm fully waiting for my first sub to come on, so we'll have to wait and see. Thanks very much for joining me after that chaotic Tuesday. Hopefully it goes better tonight.
Good stuff. Yeah, no, fingers crossed. I'll be watching both games with intent, and I'm really hoping for a Salah haul as well. He doesn't often blank twice in a row, so I think we're due. And then obviously the Fulham Spurs games, if it goes ahead, it's going to be so much fun to watch, because Fulham will have a go, and we might just see some Spurs goals again.
Yeah, I think tonight is going to really affect people's transfers next week. Because if Kane and Son look good again, and then people know they're playing Leeds, if they've not got them, they're going to really want them. So it'll be a hard game to go without. So yeah, interesting day ahead. We'll have to wait and see what happens with the games and stuff like that. Thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed it, please do hit that like button and subscribe if you're new around here. We'll be back ahead of game week 18 now at some point. There's a little bit of a break between 17 and 18, so I'm not sure exactly when all the videos will be going out, but we will be there to work for all the chaos, talk about transfers, captaincy and all that stuff. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you again soon.